and obey the gospel. Praise God. Praise God. I pray for that day. This morning, we're going to be looking at Genesis chapter 4. And chapter 4, we'll start at verse 1 and we'll go to verse 9. This is really going to solidify the point that I want to make this morning. We can learn from what Cain did to Abel. We can learn so many things from it. And I'm going to take it one way this morning. Perhaps maybe you never even considered this version of this lesson. Let's begin. In Genesis chapter 4, starting at verse 1, it says, "And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bore his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth. Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. See, the first thing that we can know from this is that there is a specific way that we ought to worship God. That's right. God doesn't just take whatever worship you want to give him and accept it. God only accepts the worship that he told them to give him. How can God be righteous and tell Cain that his worship isn't good for him if he didn't tell him already what was expected of him? God had already told them, had already given them instructions on what to do. But see, Cain chose not to do it how God said to do it. That's the first thing we can learn. And what else do you notice here? Cain is the older brother. See, when we're older, when we're above someone else, and somebody below us starts to creep up in the power field, starts to get more respect, sometimes our countenance falls. We start to hate that person. That's another thing we can learn from Cain and Abel's relationship. And enviness. Covetousness was what caused Cain to murder his brother, his own brother, literally the only brother that was on the earth. Yes. How many people? Adam, Eve, Cain, and Abel, and you want to murder only 4 people. And you want to murder 1/4 of the population. Oh, Lord have mercy. In verse 6, it says, "And the Lord said unto Cain, Why are you angry? And why is thy countenance fallen? It says, If thou doest well," God's telling him, if you just do what you're supposed to do, he had already told him what he was supposed to do. If you just do what I tell you, listen to what God said. "And if thou dost not if thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted?" I done told you what to do. All you got to do is do it, and everything will be all right. It says, "And if thou doest not well," if you don't do what I tell you, what do you expect? I told you what is acceptable to me, and then you give me something else, and I say, I'm not accepting that. I already told you what's accepted to me, and now you get mad. What's the deal? Look, guys, why are you acting like this? I done told you what you're supposed to do. "And if thou dost not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him." And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. See, God had come in and told Cain, listen, hey, let me help you out here. This is what you should be doing. And shortly after he got this lesson on what he should be doing, he got mad and killed his own brother. And it says, and the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel, thy brother? And he said, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?
Oh, I can't believe you said that.
I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? The answer to that question is yes.
Yes.
You are your brother's keeper. That's the title of the lesson this morning.
Help me, somebody.
Your brother's keeper. Supporting your brother. See, when the way that we should support somebody is the way that God supported Cain. See, God saw that Cain was doing something he ain't have no business. But God didn't come and say, hey, listen, you rotten little. God said, hey, let me talk to you. If you just do what you're supposed to do, everything will be here. Here it is. Hey, here, do what you're supposed to do, and everything's gonna be all right. But what happened? People don't like that kind of support. They don't like to be told that what they're doing is wrong. And Cain was the first one that didn't accept preaching. He was the first one that didn't accept the gospel, that didn't accept a lesson in telling somebody that, hey, listen, you're sinning right now, and you need to change. He was the first one that didn't accept it, and then sin lieth at the door. What happened? He got so hateful that he killed his brother. People said, hey, they get so hateful that they split the church. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, you're responsible for your brother. And how are you responsible for your brother? You're responsible to love them, but you're also responsible to support them and to be watchmen for them. If an enemy is coming, you have to blow the horn. You have to say, hey, listen, and what you're doing isn't right. You have to help them to the right way. Proverbs 10, chapter 17, it says, he is in the way of life that keepeth instruction, but he that refuseth reproof erreth. You're wrong if you refuse reproof. You're wrong if you refuse to have somebody tell you, hey, listen, let me tell you, what you're doing is incorrect. You need to do it this way. But don't nobody want to hear that. And the first problem with it is that sometimes that person that doesn't want to hear that reproof thinks that they're always right all the time, and whenever they get caught in something wrong that they're doing, they try to point fingers at everybody else. No, it wasn't. See, Eve made me eat the fruit. And Eve said it was the devil that, when they get caught up, it's somebody else's fault. So we gotta stop blaming everyone else for what we choose to do. We need to take responsibility for our own actions. You know, your conscience warns you of evil choices. That's the Spirit of God in you.
Every day.
That's the Spirit of God in you telling you, hey, listen, don't do that. You listen to it, or you sear it with a hot iron. Going somewhere, I want to hear that. Your conscience tells you, but you ignore it sometimes, and you do it anyway. Yeah. And then some people, when facing the consequence of that choice that they made, they want to blame everyone else. You made the choice. Adam blamed Eve, and Eve blamed the devil. See, the devil will tempt you to sin. Oh, he's going to try to help you to sin as much as he can, but he can't make you do nothing. Some people say that the devil made me do it.
Yeah.
The devil can't make you do nothing. You choose to sin when you sin. That is your choice. I'm sorry. I know it's hard, but the Bible says in James chapter 1, verse 13, it says, let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man, but every man is tempted of the devil. Listen, when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed.
That's it.
Then when lust has conceived, when you get that desire, ooh, that look good. You married, ooh, she look good. You married, ooh, he look good. Ooh, that sounds good over there. They having a lot of fun over there. That congregation, man, they having a party every Sunday. Ooh, that look good. Their own lust, and they're enticed. Then when lust has conceived, it brings forth sin. And when sin is finished, Cain killed his brother. It brings forth
Every time.
death. It brings forth death. We're responsible for our own choices. And you know what? We really ought to be looking for somebody that's honest and somebody that's willing to tell us when we're wrong.
Every day.
In Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 1, it says, whoso loveth instruction, loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish. Let me give you a hard translation of that. But he that hateth reproof is stupid. That's what brutish means. That's literally what it means. He that hateth reproof is stupid. That's what the Bible says. Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 5, it says, a fool despiseth his father's instruction, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent. He that regardeth reproof is wise.
Yeah.
In Proverbs chapter 9 and verse 8, it says, reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. A person that is wise wants you to tell them, hey, listen, you could do this better. Hey, listen, you've been doing this wrong. Let's fix that. Let's make it better.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know what? I couldn't see that myself.
Right.
Now I'm going to better myself because of your advice.
Yeah.
But so many times people start to hate you because you told them something wrong with them. You ought to be saying thank you.
Yes. Come on, brother.
Listen, in Proverbs chapter 28 and verse 23, it says, he that rebuketh a man afterwards shall find more favor than he that flattereth with the tongue. Solomon was so wise. He was so wise because the person that is 100 with you all the time, her people don't like them. They don't like them because they're going to tell you what it is, and they're going to tell you how it is and like it is. They don't have no filter with you. But afterwards, they're going to respect you because you told them the truth. They're going to hate you for a second, but then they're going to come back and ask you for advice again.
Yes.
That's what he meant when he said, he that rebuketh a man afterwards shall find more favor than the person that flatters with the tongue. That person that says, oh, you're amazing. You wrong as two left shoes. Oh, you're right. I agree with you. 100%. Absolutely. There's no way that they should have done that. There's no way that they should have said that. And you just as wrong. Well, Proverbs chapter 27 and verse 5, it says, open rebuke is better than secret love. Listen, faithful are the wounds of a friend. Yes. You know why that is? Because the friend actually cares about you. Right. They're telling you this, and they know that they're going to hurt your feelings. They're like, man, I'm going to hurt their feelings when I say this, but if I don't say it, it's going to be worse. So I got to tell them. I got to tell them. And you tell them, and then they blow up at you, and you're not friends anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a sad thing.
It happens, brother.
You're showing them love, and you're showing them true love and true support, and they get mad at you and sever the relationship. That's what Cain did. God told him, hey, listen, just do it this way. The way you're doing it right now is wrong. Do it this way. And then he severed the relationship. When it killed his brother. Well, we need that kind of support. We need that kind of advice. We need to be our brother's keeper and to be a good supporter, the support that we actually need to be able to love them for real. Not, oh yes, you're amazing, and kiss up to them and everything. Think about this for a second. You can look at your car and say your car is beautiful and kiss it, but if you don't give it what it needs, it ain't going nowhere. If you don't give it fuel, it's not going anywhere. You know, 99% of people that get divorced still love each other when they get divorced.
Yes. Yes.
They say it. I
It's
still
done
love
now.
you, but I can't live with you.
Yes.
I still love you, but I can't stand living with you. It's because you've been kissing up to them and, oh, you're so beautiful, oh, you're so handsome, and buying them things and doing all this kind of stuff, but you haven't given them the fuel that they need. And that comes from knowledge. You have to learn what each other needs. If you didn't know that the car needed fuel, how are you going to put fuel in the car?
Right.
You got to know what they need, and then you got to supply the need. You can kiss up to them and say you love them all day, but that's not enough. You need real support. You need somebody that's going to give you good advice. But make sure it's somebody who points you back to Christ. Because there's so many people falling astray, listening to false teachers. You really ought to be begging, really, for somebody to tell you what's wrong with you. That sounds a little odd, doesn't it? You really should be begging for somebody to tell you what's wrong with you.
Please.
Like, please, somebody come crush my ego.
Yes.
That sounds a little weird, doesn't it? Please, come tell me all my sins.
Yes.
Tell me everything that's wrong with me. That is weird. You really shouldn't sound that desperate, but it's something like that. Right? You want somebody to let you know what's wrong with you. Why? Why do we need to know that? Why don't we know that? We need somebody to tell us. And if we know that, why don't we apply the knowledge? You know, it's up for debate, but I think it's because we've been programmed to seek praise rather than reproof. We want everything, we want straight A's in everything, and even the thought of failing is just absolutely dreadful. We want to be perfectly okay with where we are and think we're doing a good job, even if we're not. You get praise from getting those grades, and if somebody tells you something negative about you, it's horrible, right? If you get an F, it's horrible. It has to be praised all the time. And even now, they won't let you put comments on the report card.
What?
My first year, because they used to do that when I was in school. My first year teaching, I put a comment for every single student.
Yes.
I said, hey, listen, this student is great at this, and that, but they need to work on this. And this student does this, and that well, but they need to work on this. And my principal was like, hey, listen, you can't.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
You can't do that.
Thank you, huh?
They make the comments for you now, 1 through 10, choose one.
Oh, yes, it's not there yet. It's not there.
Can't tell them what they're doing wrong. It has to be praise, praise, praise. They're programmed to only want to receive praise. And when criticism comes, that's the enemy. That's the way it is. If we're not okay with it, if we're not okay with ourselves, and somebody tells us something wrong, it comes and destroys our ego. Which for some reason our ego today is directly linked to what we think is happiness. So when my ego is good and nobody's telling me what's wrong with me, I'm happy. But as soon as somebody comes and says, hey, listen, you need to change this, then all of a sudden we're not happy anymore. And that person is the enemy. As long as no one tries to tell me I'm doing something wrong, everything is fine. There's something terribly wrong with that mentality. And it's everywhere. People would rather feel good than actually be good. Why do we seek after praise instead of criticism? We want to hear, great job, you're amazing. Every time, instead of, hey, listen, you really did good at this, but let me help you get a little better. You can do this better. We want flattering words instead of self-examination. Just now, you might be experiencing exactly what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about right now might be making you examine yourself, and it's making you feel uncomfortable. That's okay. That's okay. That's how we get better. That's how we get better. It's uncomfortable when we find out that there's something we may have been doing wrong, because in our minds, we're perfect. People leave congregations for this very reason. We don't like the sermons that make you say, well, you know what? I need to change that about me. We don't like to be wrong. No one does. No one likes to be wrong. You know what? We don't like to be wrong so much. Think about this. You can't even act against your own will. Think about that. You can't act against your own will. That's how much everyone hates to be wrong. From my experience, you can't act against your own will. See, everything you do, you justified it in your heart before you did it. You justified it within yourself, that action that you committed before you did it, whether it's good or bad. Before you act about 99% of the time, you thought about what you did and said, okay, now I'm going to do it. Now, some of it is impulse. That's that 1%. That 1% is when you act on reflex or impulse, but the other 99% is you and your choice.
Okay.
See, if we don't seek help in self-examination, because listen, that 99% of the time when we think what we're doing is right, we justify it within ourselves. We need somebody to look at our actions and say, hey, listen, I know you think what you're doing is right, because we do. Every single thing we do, we justify it. We need somebody on the outside to look at us and help us. You ever hear about getting a second opinion?
Yes, I have.
Getting a second opinion, that's what it's about. See, if we don't seek that help in self-examination, our behavior and even our success can dwindle over time. Because in our minds, everything we're doing is right. We need to get ourselves in check sometimes. Okay, if you're not getting better by receiving advice or reading God's word and examining yourself that way, chances are if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So we ought to seek out help and figure out what we're doing wrong or what we can do better. Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 18, it says, poverty and shame shall be to him that refuseth instruction. Poverty and shame will be to the person that don't want somebody to tell them what's wrong. But he that regardeth reproof shall be honored. In Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 12, it says, a scorner loveth not one that reproveth him, neither will he go unto the wise. They think that they know everything. They're not going to go to anybody else and consult them for knowledge. And you know what? A lot of times today, chances are, even if you go to somebody, a lot of times people don't lie to you because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Chances are people won't tell you the truth because everyone gets in a feeling so quickly. If you tell them something that's wrong with them, they'll go off on you. Snap. So first they're scared because they might hurt your feelings and offend you, and they're also scared because you might snap on them and tell them about themselves too. You go, oh, you want to tell me what's wrong with me? Well, let me tell you something. But see, this type of support is absolutely necessary. And if you find somebody who actually loves you and will support you and will give you true advice and will tell you the truth, even when you don't want to hear it, you better hold on to them and be thankful to them. What did the song say? We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Sometimes we don't understand the things that are going on. We need somebody else's help. We don't have all the answers, church. Seek them from God first. And then ask a second opinion. That's what the church is for. We're family. We are our brother's keeper. It is our responsibility to support one another in every way that we can. We all need somebody to lean on. You know what? We ought to be the person that we wish we had to lean on. You see that? What the song say? I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to make a change. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make the change. See, if you want somebody to lean on, if you want somebody that will give you the proper support, you first of all be that person that gives that proper support. If you want somebody to love you, then first you learn how to love yourself. You see that? Be the person you wish you had to lean on. See, when I was younger, man, I wish I had somebody like me to give me advice. I don't have any regrets. I thank God for how he worked in my life. But I'm telling you, if I had support like I give to my family members sometimes, some things would be better. I don't want to change my past. I have a beautiful wife. I have 2 amazing kids. But I want to tell you that I'm not just pointing at the prick in your eyes where there's a beam in mine. I'm trying to do the best to change, to be the change that I would like to see. When I was in college, my brother, he was in prison. He had been there since I was in middle school. I sent him letters and I even sent him money. I was a broke kid in college. Sent him money when he asked for it. Sent him pictures of family members when he asked for it, so that he can have them to look at while he was in prison. When he got out, I gave him some of my clothes, and I went and bought him a Bible. Talked to him about his faith while he was in prison, and when he got out to get on the right path, gave him ideas, told him that he could be a truck driver and he should get a CDL, and he was working on it while he was in prison. And then, you know what? When he got out, he came to visit one time. And now he's finally off probation and he has a job and doing things the right way. I just wish that he would obey the gospel.
Yes.
That's the kind of support that I'm talking about. My cousin played for the NFL, and you know what? I went to every single home game except for the Super Bowl one year. It wasn't that he needed somebody to be there. It was the support of having somebody in the stands that is simply there for you. That's there for you. And I went to every single home game. Couldn't go to the Super Bowl because those tickets were expensive.
Oh, yeah.
But I was there to support him. I even talked to him about plays, every single play that he did, and gave him advice on how to use his hands on the D-line. I played on the D-line myself in college.
Okay.
I came to every single weekend. I drove from Lincoln University to Baltimore, Maryland, to go and watch him play. And the reason why is because I didn't have anybody to go to my games when I was in college. I was in Pennsylvania. My mom couldn't afford to go catch flights to go there.
Right.
My dad either when he was alive.
Right.
They came and saw one game out of my whole 4 years of playing ball. And I didn't want anybody else to have to experience that. I wanted to give as much support to somebody as I possibly could, because I knew what it felt like to be out there and have nobody in the stands that's there to support you. My little brother, his senior year, I watched every single game. I went to this restaurant called Wings and Rings. Didn't have the channel at my house. So I went to this restaurant and bought a meal and sat there the whole 3 hours and watched every single play of his game. You know what else I did? I texted him on his phone every single play that he did, what he could have done better or what he did right.
That's beautiful.
So when he got out of the game, he had about 20 text messages on his phone every single game. Also, I gave him suggestions for plays to give to his coach.
That's good.
Every single one. Actually got mad at me for doing it. Every single weekend, spending about $30, $40 just to go to Wings and Rings to spend some, to watch my little brother play. But you know what? They won a bowl game.
Okay.
He has a ring now. And you know what? My cousin, they won that Super Bowl that year where I was supporting them.
Yeah.
Every single one. Every single one. My little nephew, well, he was bad. He was mad. We used to have to chase him, and he would run away and hide in public on purpose so we couldn't find him. Daycare workers would complain how he would never listen and he would disrupt the class all the time when everybody's trying to learn. And me and my wife, we took him in and raised him like he was our own son. We disciplined him when he got in trouble. We taught him how he was supposed to act. We had him doing worksheets, teaching him colors and sounds of the letters and learning how to read. He was able to read before he even reached kindergarten. And now he's in the gifted program.
That's beautiful.
That kind of support. That kind of support. I just hope that one day they will see how much I cared about them and they'll obey the gospel. What I'm trying to say to you is we need a supporting role in our lives.
Every day.
We need someone to give real support and not just praise. I wasn't just like, hey Kai, you're awesome. You can do better than that. You're awesome. No, I whooped his butt.
I heard that, brother. Got it, though.
Real support, real training. And look at it now. We need somebody that's going to give us real support and not just praise. You need someone to be there for you, to love you, and to tell you when you are wrong.
Every day.
And if you find somebody like that that's not just out to tear you down, but actually sincerely comes from the heart and says, hey, listen, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. I'm trying to help you be better. Just listen, do this. I've been there. Try this, it'll work. If you find somebody that's sincere like that, don't let them go.
That's right.
Don't let them go. Listen, in Matthew chapter 22 and verse 37, it says, Jesus said unto them, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And listen, the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. See, the second greatest commandment was to love your neighbor as yourself. Part of that love is to support them along the way and to help them to stay on the right path. That's what true love does. People can't just survive on what they want. They must have what they need. Remember the car. A car needs fuel to run. You can kiss it and tell it how beautiful it is every day, but if you don't put fuel in it, it ain't going nowhere. You have to give it what it needs. And people need guidance from God first and a support system from other people helping as well. Church, we need to be our brother's keeper. We need to be our brother's keeper. And we need to truly support them and give them the love that they need in a true way. Not allowing them to do whatever it is that they feel like. Because that's what they say love is today. Just let them live how they want to live. Leave them alone. Don't bother with them because you're going to hurt their feelings. That's what they say love is. Love is just letting everybody do what they want to and not hurting their feelings. I don't care about your feelings. I care about your soul.
Every day.
Your feelings are not going to save you from burning forever. Who cares about you more? Somebody who spares your feelings and somebody who saves you from eternal damnation. Who loved you more? Who loves you more? The person that's willing to put themselves in an awkward situation that they know you're not going to like, and they do it anyway because they care about you. Or somebody that just ignores it and say, yeah, I agree. Oh, yes, you're right. Absolutely. You're 100% right. Every single time. But that's what people go to. That's why these mega churches are filled up to the brim. Because they're just saying, hey, listen, all you got to do is just say the Lord's Prayer and it's fine. Everything is all right. God is so merciful, he won't care about all of those sins that you're committing. You don't have to. Just say the Lord's Prayer. And while you're at it, put some money in this basket.
Yeah.